Hi everyone, and thanks so much for joining us today. We're here with commercial aviation expert Keith Green, and we're talking about the decline in global transiting traffic today. Thanks so much for joining us, Keith.
Thank you for having us. It's an absolute pleasure to chat on this webcast today, and hopefully I can give some insight as to what's happening in the global aviation market.
Great. Keith, there's a perception at the moment that it is safer when it comes to COVID to travel directly on a point-to-point flight to your destination. What are large international airport hubs, the likes of Dubai, Singapore, Hong Kong, London, Paris, doing in order to dispel these perceptions and to encourage passengers to start flying via their hubs and transiting once again?
The first thing is that the airports themselves, hub airports globally, are making sure it's safe for passengers to transit through the airports. I think that's priority number one. Making passengers feel safe and secure is essential for demand to recover. So that's their first priority now, is to ensure that passengers using any airport, whether it's a hub airport or a point-to-point route, that passengers are safe and secure, that social distancing measures are put in place, cleaning, hygiene is 100% on target, following ICAO's aviation recovery task force, which is CART's guidelines, where how the airport manages cleaning, social distancing around security areas, arrival areas, check-in counters, etc. So that's what airports are doing globally at the moment to make sure passengers feel safe and secure.
Okay, and like any marketing initiatives that you've seen cropping up in different hubs around the world to encourage people to come back?
Not as yet, not when it comes to marketing or commercial or, enhancing on retail offerings, etc., which most hub airports tend to do pre-COVID. Now all the communication is around safety and security. There's no initiatives out there that I have seen where airports are trying to attract people to use their facilities. It's all about making sure that the passenger is safe and secure, and there's strong communication, marketing and PR around that to ensure passengers will travel. A lot of the airports, quite a few airports around the world, like Heathrow, have implemented pre-testing, where passengers can arrive, do a pre-COVID test. There is a cost to it, but that ensures that nobody is walking into the airport carrying the virus.
And Keith, do you have any stats that you could maybe share with us about the decline in transiting passengers versus point-to-point traffic?
To answer your question, the volume of connecting passengers globally has fallen 81% year on year.
Okay.
But there also has been an impact on non-stop traffic, where we've seen passenger numbers fall by 61%. The large impact on connected travel has been down to both demand and supply. On the demand side, part of the explanation in the decrease in long-haul intercontinental itineraries, as we refer to it, where connecting is common, is down to international travel being restricted by country to country. So typically we see connecting flights happening from international to international. So let's use an example where we see South Africa, say to Thailand. A huge portion of that traffic will connect via Singapore, via the Middle East. And because South Africa closed its borders to international travel, that connectivity didn't take place. The non-stop traffic that has been happening is between domestic and now recently between the SADC countries and Africa. And now we are starting to see, a bit more open international travel globally, which is allowing passengers to start traveling, starting to connect through those major hubs.
When we were chatting earlier, we were talking about sort of a hub like Dubai. You were saying that previously it used to be mostly transiting traffic, but there's actually been an increase in traffic to Dubai as a destination. Do you have any stats on that? And is this a strategy that global hubs could be doing to keep themselves going during this period when there is a stronger demand for point-to-point traffic?
Yes, I mean, if you look at every major global hub, there's two factors that make it a success. One is there has to be strong demand for the destination itself. The second is you need a very strong hub-based airline. So if we look at our successful hubs, if we look at London, for example, if we look at Dubai or Doha or Singapore, both those factors feature. So, for example, Dubai has done a very good job in the past of connecting passengers transiting through its hub, but it's also done an extremely good job of building itself as a destination. So if we went back 20 years, you would see close to 90% of the traffic Emirates was carrying was connecting traffic. That has now changed. In 2019, that is now split of 50-50. So what we're seeing is 50% of the traffic Emirates carries connects, and actually 50% of the traffic will stop its travel in Dubai because they want to visit Dubai itself.
Okay. So let's talk about the domestic landscape in South Africa at the moment. We've seen a lot of changes in flight, in the carriers that are operating in South Africa in the last year. Are there any gaps at the moment? What is the air landscape looking like, and what can we do to improve it?
We don't foresee passenger numbers returning back to 2019 levels by maybe 2024, possibly 2025. So still a long way to go. At the moment, I don't believe there's an opportunity for more capacity to be added to the market in South Africa. I think it's now adequately served. We need to bear in mind that there is no direct demand for air travel. Okay, travel happens when there's an activity happening in the end destination. So that could be people traveling for business reasons, people traveling to visit family, relatives, or friends, or traveling for leisure purposes. So there has to be some other type of demand happening before people will travel. So there has to be some sort of economic activity or some leisure activity happening at that specific destination that people are going to get on the aircraft and travel. We know that for now, with the restrictions currently happening globally and in South Africa on travel restrictions, we've just seen in the Western Cape, there's been a big spike in COVID infections again. So this will probably prevent people traveling to that province in the near future until people have more certainty around what is happening with the COVID-19 infections in the Western Cape.
And we've got a BA and Comair relaunching this month. We've got Lyft coming in, and then we've got the new SAA and SA Express planning to launch sort of next year. Will there be space for them to come back at this point?
I don't think there will be space. I think the market is now at its capacity. I don't think we're going to see much growth in domestic travel. Consumer household spend is under real pressure at the moment, and that's primarily driven by the economic activity. People are cash strapped at the moment, and I don't think travel is going to be priority for them in the next couple of months. However, maybe going into the end of 2021, we could start seeing passenger levels starting to climb again.
Okay. And then let's talk briefly about Lanseria Airport. It's currently having a massive expansion. I think they're increasing annual capacity from 3 million passengers to 4.5 million passengers, and they've resumed construction. But there's only one airline flying in and out of the airport at the moment. What do you foresee for Lanseria? How can they become more competitive?
No, what they're doing is the right thing. I think, we need to understand that developments of additional airport capacity takes time. It's not something you can build in 3 months. It does take a couple of years before they get to that capacity. So they are looking longer term, which is the right thing to do. Like I've said, we will see passenger numbers recovery in 2023, 2024. So when that additional capacity comes online, it will be the right time for them to do that. Remember, airports typically will do a master plan over a 35-year period.
Wow.
and they will gradually implement that plan as they go along. So they are in the best position now to trigger that capacity, that additional capacity, because we will see those passenger levels return by 2023, 2024.
And what can Lanseria do sort of to draw more passengers? You know, it's slightly removed from OR Tambo as a transiting hub. Yeah, any suggestions there?
Yeah, I mean, they can start to focus on regional connectivity. I think that would be something they could look to going forward. The other thing is, I think they need to work closely with both tourism and business communities, where they can drive awareness about Lanseria and marketing themselves around that. Not only just with Gauteng, for example, they could work with KwaZulu-Natal tourism, they could work with Western Cape tourism, where they can create awareness that there is a secondary airport based in Johannesburg that serves the region, and it's not just Oliver Tambo that does that. So working closely with the tourism partners and business chambers or communities to drive awareness is something they could focus on.
Okay, that's great. Keith, very interesting. Thank you so much for talking to us, and we hope to bring you back again soon.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.